Imagine a system that's always available, highly performant, secure, and infinitely adaptable, yet simple enough to use and understand. For everyone, this will mean something different, depending on your environment and your requirements. For us at HAProxy Technologies, that means helping you, our users, build these types of systems by building software that itself shares the same qualities. Here at HAProxy Technologies, there are a few things that make us excited to come to work. Building software for speed, reliability, and security has always been our passion, and I think it always will be. But recently, we have also been thrilled to focus our attention on flexibility and adaptability on a different scale, on attributes that will help define the future of HAProxy. A few years back, as we surveyed the load balancer landscape and our users' feedback, we realized that HAProxy was an integral part of enterprise environments that are ever more complex, distributed, and diverse. Our users were finding new ways of interacting with their infrastructure. The infrastructures were becoming more varied in how dynamic they could be, and the demands on security kept expanding. It became clear that we needed to address these changing circumstances, to make it simpler for our users to take advantage of all HAProxy features in those new enterprise environments. We knew that we needed a comprehensive solution, a central place that could reach out and direct fleets of HAProxy enterprise instances in a concert, safely and reliably. A place that could observe and create unique insights from HAProxy metrics that HAProxy is able to provide. Our approach has always been to build from the ground up, listening closely to our users' feedback every step of the way. And so, with the aim of reaching this milestone today, the Data Plane API project was born all those years ago. We knew we wanted to be as flexible as possible. So one of the cornerstones of that was the ability to not only generate, but parse and understand the HAProxy configuration. An immediate benefit of that was the HAProxy Kubernetes Ingress Controller project. The HAProxy Data Plane API was developed as a community-driven, open-source project from the start, and just like the Ingress Controller. The Data Plane API pioneered a new way to interact with HAProxy remotely over a standards-based HTTP API, and in a safe and reliable way that reduces the chances of accidental misconfiguration. Our Data Plane API made major strides in improving accessibility and interoperability of HAProxy by virtue of a well-documented OpenAPI described interface. It brought compatibility with off-the-shelf HTTP API tooling and client library generation for dozens of popular languages. It made interacting with HAProxy simpler in distributed environments. And our enterprise users got a version of Data Plane API too, extending support to features specific to HAProxy Enterprise. Adding the Data Plane API to HAProxy was the first step towards making it simpler to manage HAProxy instances at scale and with increased flexibility. Our vision has been to deliver more, especially for the most demanding use cases. In large environments with hundreds or even thousands of HAProxy instances, managing HAProxy configurations and keeping them consistent is a daunting challenge. Reconfigurations need to be done reliably and in a timely manner even in such large environments. Security-related challenges often happen and need to be responded to fast. And configuration errors should be prevented automatically. And they should be rolled back quickly if they should ever occur. The usefulness of traditional GitOps approaches like Ansible or Puppet starts to break down in these types of environments. Writing templates for a demanding environment makes these templates complex and error-prone. And rolling out changes can take an inordinate amount of time. We wanted to address the stress and uncertainty of these types of workflows. And small teams managing large environments can always use all the help that they can get. Large environments, on the other hand, they often come with large teams or even multiple departments. And for them, giving application developers the ability to take control of the load balancers and the infrastructure designated for their applications, it speeds up time to delivery. And also increases reaction time by reducing the load on the infrastructure operation teams. But in order to do this safely and prevent unauthorized or unintended configuration changes, administrators need to have the ability to delegate roles and to control access at a granular level. Modern infrastructures and highly demanding requirements, they require not just the ultimate reliability and resilience, but they also require the ability to scale up and down seamlessly and at a moment's notice. With cloud infrastructure providers becoming a cornerstone of many enterprises, we wanted to give our users the ability to seamlessly harness the elastic scalability of infrastructure as a service. This means providing a simple and integrated method for on-demand HAProxy load balancing in the cloud, or indeed having them live in the cloud permanently. And some of our largest enterprise users, they have elaborate hosted or in-house monitoring and log processing systems. But we couldn't forget our users with a smaller footprint. We wanted to unlock the treasure trove of HAProxy metrics and statistics for everyone. We wanted to provide a rich and deep insight into the traffic patterns of our users and infrastructure health that only HAProxy can provide. HAProxy has over 50 metrics for each configured front-end, back-end, and back-end server. And they're all available in real time over the runtime API. And they provide an insightful overview into the request rates and into the infrastructure health. And that's only the start. Each processed HTTP request by HAProxy has even more metrics available that can be logged and that are specific for that moment in time when that access log was generated. There's also the infinitely flexible but inherently complex capability for users to define their own stats and counters. And they can also synchronize those between HAProxy instances for security applications like global rate limiting. Dataplane API is able to expose and deliver runtime API metrics over an HTTP API. However, we found that many users often left these metrics untapped because collecting them and visualizing them requires additional steps. Taking advantage of the full breadth of HAProxy metrics requires deep knowledge of not just HAProxy, but also requires other external tools and components. And we wanted to make the power of these metrics accessible to more of our users. all the while the workflows that we observed our enterprise users building and using the data plane API. These workflows were as diverse as we could possibly imagine. They made use of different tooling, different methodologies. They combined different infrastructures. So for our power users, we wanted to retain and expand the ability to interoperate and the flexibility that was pioneered by data plane. For users who wanted a more approachable and a more guided experience, we wanted to provide a simpler UI-driven workflow or workflows that enable them to get started fast and accomplish common tasks quickly and easily. The product that we're announcing today and that we hinted at during last year's HAProxy conference is the HAProxy Fusion Control Plane. 3 years in the making and conceived much earlier. This is our first step in providing our most demanding users with a way to simplify their workflows, to build resilient infrastructures, and to reduce the costs and risks associated with delivering applications at scale. Many of our data plane and ingress controller features developed and released to the community over the past few years were a direct result of our desire to give everyone the exact same tools that we use ourselves. Features that were driven by the demands of developing HAProxy Fusion Control Plane. With HAProxy Fusion itself, we wanted to showcase the power of HAProxy and bring to light all the wonderful insights HAProxy can provide. We wanted to simplify the most advanced capabilities so that they can become accessible to the users that need them the most. And at the same time, we wanted to begin addressing the challenges that our most cutting-edge users are facing. HAProxy Fusion Control Plane is at its core a way to enable our enterprise users to leverage the full power of HAProxy Enterprise's features without being limited by a steep learning curve or the complexity that comes with high-scale or diverse distributed environments. HAProxy Fusion lets you manage and monitor all of your HAProxy Enterprise instances from a single UI or API, whether on-premise or in the cloud, so you can simplify, scale, and secure your application delivery. What is HAProxy Fusion Control Plane? It's a single pane of glass, we like to call it that, centralizing management of any number of HAProxy Enterprise instances. It's providing observability and insight into the hundreds of metrics available from HAProxy. Even more than that, HAProxy is again a standards-driven API, a description and a way to interact with all of HAProxy's features and capabilities, carrying forward the torch lit by our data plane API project. It's a way to bring structure and organization into the fleets of HAProxy Enterprise instances with principles of resilience, efficiency, flexibility, and security. And it's a multiplier for those qualities in the infrastructure that it is a part of. Our data plane API already exposed the ability to reconfigure each individual associated HAProxy remotely. But with HAProxy Fusion, we're adding a central API and UI that collects any number of HAProxy Enterprise instances with data plane API into clusters of load balancers. And any number of load balancer clusters can be created and grouped together. HAProxy Fusion then ensures that the HAProxy configuration stays consistent between all the load balancer in a single cluster. And going a step further in ensuring the stability and reliability of managed load balancers, every HAProxy configuration change goes through an additional verification step on HAProxy Fusion itself before ever being sent out to data planes for another check and being applied to HAProxy. The HAProxy configuration is kept unified across the entire cluster of load balancers where it counts. But it's also personalized for each individual load balancer. We have what we call node, cluster, and cluster group variables. And Fusion managed configuration can adapt to any existing use case by using those variables. Some of them are automatically collected for each individual HAProxy instance's environment, and others are user configurable. These additional Fusion-provided features are distilled and rendered into individual HAProxy config files and kept up to date automatically. This includes configuration stances for enabling HAProxy global profiling engine, usually a highly technical, but also highly desirable HAProxy enterprise feature. The centralized management available with HAProxy Fusion is not limited to only HAProxy though. While Dataplane API supports managing a single HAProxy's related SSL files or error pages, Fusion can do the same for multiple HAProxy enterprise instances or clusters. And it does so from a single API endpoint, ensuring consistency for these user-uploaded files too. All the runtime API metrics available over the network through individual Dataplane APIs are collected by HAProxy Fusion, aggregated, and then re-exposed again over Fusion's API, and available for visualization with HAProxy Fusion user interface, or a third-party reporting tool as well. Fusion also serves as an optional collection point for HAProxy access logs, configurable and with just a couple of clicks or API calls. And with built-in log parsing and storage, HAProxy Fusion simplifies enabling and collecting access logs. And then it goes a step further and exposes these collected logs back through its own API and empowers users to search and inspect their application logs with a flexible and insightful user interface that we call the Request Explorer. Securing web applications is necessary, but it's often complex. And again, HAProxy Fusion comes here and simplifies deploying and managing either of the two web application firewall engines that are unique to HAProxy. We built in support for automatic and manual rule set management and updates, and offer a super simple user interface for tweaking the rule selection and configuring the exceptions. So securing a web application with an OWASP-compatible web application firewall, it's again just an API call away or a couple of clicks. And all the aforementioned consistency and validity checks that happen on Fusion apply here too. So a couple of more notable mentions to demonstrate how HAProxy Fusion simplifies advanced workflows. HAProxy Fusion extends HAProxy enterprise load balancers onto an AWS infrastructure with extensive integration, including auto-scaling groups and Route 53 support. And managing VRP alongside HAProxy, which is another popular use case for ensuring load balancer redundancy and uptime, that's integrated as well. So all of these HAProxy features are dually supported by both the UI and the API, but have been built API first, and so are covered by our robust role-based access control, which allows fine-grained control over familiar HAProxy resources like front-ends, binds, and servers, and even some deeper ones like ACLs. Flexibility is key here. So HAProxy Fusion has OpenID Connect support, allowing to integrate with external identity providers. And on the topic of flexibility, HAProxy Fusion may be a single binary, but it relies on a number of other services and other components. These we chose from off-the-shelf, best-of-breed, open-source projects wherever possible. And as much as we could, we made every component configurable, highly available, and even replaceable. In order to provide the ultimate reliability for the infrastructures managed by HAProxy, one of our primary goals was to couple with the data planes and HAProxys as lightly as possible. That way, even unforeseen circumstances like loss of connectivity between HAProxy Fusion and the associated HAProxy enterprise instances, all the HAProxys can continue operating independently without issue, and only the ability to centrally control them is being impacted. This way, the infrastructure keeps operating along the course it's set to, and HAProxy Fusion can retake the reins when connectivity is restored. And the control plane warrants its own resilience too. So our reference HAProxy Fusion architecture consists of 3 servers or nodes. And having more than one node, it gives us the redundancy of data stored in its databases and on its file systems with replicas. 3 nodes ensures automated failover is possible with quorum-based leader election, and it's all based on industry standard tools and well-proven technologies. Using these popular and well-understood components removes the burden of learning arcane technologies for those users interested in understanding HAProxy Fusion software architecture. Materials and knowledge bases for these are plentiful. The light coupling and configurability of HAProxy Control Plane empowers infrastructure teams in large organizations to outsource the management of some of the components like databases to other departments, and in a lot of cases, they're already provided as software as a service to them. So throughout all this, we also supported automated Fusion, HAProxy Fusion installs and setups using, again, industry standard tooling, and also for backups and snapshots of the HAProxy Fusion stack too. So it's possible to quickly recreate an entire Fusion stack, and with built-in support for seamlessly re-adding HAProxy load balancers or restoring HAProxy configuration and associated files to previous versions in time, users can rest assured that they have a course of action already prepared, even for the most unfortunate circumstances. Finally, every component of HAProxy Fusion software stack can be scaled out independently beyond the starting 3 servers in the reference design. And this allows us to scale with the customer's needs and their traffic while still retaining redundancy. I want to use this opportunity to highlight just some of the advantages of that HAProxy Fusion can bring to fleets of HAProxy enterprise instances. This will serve not just to show the current capabilities, but also the direction that we are taking to simplify and enable our users to use HAProxy in advanced usage scenarios. I mentioned HAProxy metrics, and they're all here, collected from all managed HAProxy instances and available for inspection. they're available through the HTTP Fusion API. But the UI provides a flexible and configurable user interface for choosing the metrics of interest and displaying them in a number of different ways. The HAProxy access logs, they are collected by HAProxy Fusion. They too are available through the API. And here again, we have a UI for reviewing them. With the UI, we can provide an insight into the meaning of the metrics encoded in the HAProxy access logs. And we also provide sorting and filtering. The HAProxy enterprise instances managed by Fusion are tracked and monitored. And we surface their synchronization state and their health. And also we allow you to interact with them, with the services that are managed. So this way, the operation teams have all they need for not just reviewing, but also acting upon their infrastructure and the load balancer processes from the same central API or UI that they use for managing the configurations. The web application firewall is powered by the API. We come with the UI for it. And this reduces the steps and guesswork for downloading and tweaking rule sets and provides easy toggles for setting a non-blocking learning mode or a fully enabled mode of operation. I'll wrap up the highlights part of the talk with highlighting the API specification, or as we call it also sometimes, the documentation itself. If we were to render this out, it would span hundreds of pages, over 500, I think. And the API gives full power over every single feature of HAProxy Fusion. So we open the door to automation and integration with Data Plane API. But with HAProxy Fusion, this goes up to a whole new level. All the API is covered by RBAC, and all the standard tooling, code generation, client library support that Data Plane is capable of, all of that applies here too. So all the amazing features that we presented so far, they make it seem that HAProxy Fusion is a complete project. It's finished. In reality, we have an extensive roadmap planned ahead of us. And today is just another step on our quest to make HAProxy more approachable and easier to integrate with. As we already established, our users are technical and creative, and they can come up with use cases that we can't even imagine. Because of that, we set ourselves to provide our users with as much flexibility and as many tools as we can. And we feel we achieved that. Then we considered the most desirable use cases and most desirable use cases that could be simplified. And we've shown some HAProxy Fusion features that make advanced workflows easy. But there are many more that we still want to cover. For example, we have added native AWS integration into HAProxy Fusion to support orchestrating AWS to seamlessly scale clusters of HAProxy nodes. But more infrastructure as a service providers like Azure and OpenStack will be coming down the road. Amazon's Route 53 is just the first DNS service that we have integrated, and other popular providers will be coming as well. And just managing and influencing the cloud infrastructure is one side of the coin. Even though you can close the feedback loop already by making use of the API and the infrastructure providers' APIs, our plan is to make this even more seamless and build in discovery for all the major infrastructure providers. One infrastructure that we definitely want to highlight is Kubernetes. And here we have a number of ways to integrate both alongside and within it. And not the least of those is providing more visibility and observability into our own Kubernetes ingress controller and everything it is able to tell us. We've surfaced and aggregated all the runtime API metrics, and we made HAProxy access logs approachable and consumable through the HAProxy Fusion API and UI. And the next level to that is to combine the metrics that are uniquely available through access logs and the runtime API to provide further insights and visualizations. Combining them will reveal new insights into the operations and health of the applications that load balancers managed by HAProxy Fusion. And this is something that we feel we are uniquely positioned to have a deep understanding of. The streamlined user interfaces and APIs for configuring more complex capabilities, like the web application firewall or high availability, they will grow even further and they'll be refined even more. And support for other protocols, like route health injection, is also on the way. We implemented OpenID Connect and validated the use of Azure AD or Windows ADFS as identity providers. But there are other popular implementations and providers that we'll be validating. And we want to have tighter integration and add it first with services like Radius and LDAP. And HAProxy Fusion wouldn't be true to its name if it left all of our other HAProxy products out of the loop. So our range of Aloha appliances, by virtue of embedding the data plane API, it's technically already supported. But we'll be growing support for all of the specific services and capabilities that are unique to the Alohas. Finally, HAProxy Edge is our hosted application delivery network and content delivery network, currently in limited release. And we'll be building integration between HAProxy Edge and HAProxy Fusion as well. Our beta users were invaluable in providing us with the feedback that helped shape HAProxy Fusion. But there's still time to help us prioritize these upcoming developments. So the next step on that journey begins today, with HAProxy Fusion now generally available to all HAProxy enterprise users. So we're looking forward to that feedback from all of you. With this, I thank you for your attention and have a great time at the conference.